Hello everybody and welcome to my kitchen. As some of you may know, I have recently lost a little bit of my viewership.
Oh no!
So I decided to completely rebrand the channel and start over. What that means for you guys is that from today, from this day forth, April the 1st, you can expect the best cooking videos from this channel and I'll be leaving the music production scene behind. Anyway, with that April Fool's intro out of the way, let's actually get into the reason why I wanted to make this video, and that is because of my iced tea. As you can see, I have some empty bottles next to me and I'm going to be making some of my own iced tea for you guys today. And I just want to show you how I do that. Because I have been asked many times on my stream in particular how I make the iced tea that I so often drink. So I figured I would show you. Now I've already completed the very first step. As you can see, the bottles have already been washed and are currently drying here. And this is a very important step because you want to make sure that the bottles are clean before you put in the tea, obviously. You can see that I make my iced tea inside of Pepsi bottles and I use them a bunch of times. The system that I have in place basically works as follows. I drink a bottle of Pepsi, one of these guys here. Once the bottle is finished, I'll clean out the bottle once, so that is happening to this one and this one. And then I'll use it for iced tea, and then I'll clean it out again, remove the label, and that means that I can use it 2 times to use for iced tea. So the way that I've cleaned these is just with hot water. You just take a bunch of hot water, you maybe fill it up until maybe like here, something like that. And then you just put on the tap like this, shake it a bunch of times, and then you just throw it out and let it dry. You can just let it dry out like this on top of a towel and it won't cause any mess or anything like that. And this way it just ensures that the bottle keeps clean and that you don't get any form of hygiene issues with it. Now today we're only going to be making iced tea, but as you can see I also have some syrups which I sometimes like to use. It just depends a little bit on the flavor that I want to go for. And really the whole reason why I'm doing this is just to make sure that I have a little bit more diverse taste in all of the things that I drink and drinking less of this stuff, which is apparently really bad for you. Now we're going to start by bringing in our tea. As you can see, I have a whole variety over here that we're going to use. I used to do it with this kind of stuff over here, which is just one of those like plastic bags that comes full with sugar and a little bit of powder. Because of the way that I'm recording, I don't have the autofocus turned on, so I can show you the label over here, but it won't really show up. What I can tell you though, that for every 100 grams of this product, there's 97 grams of sugar in this. So it's probably not the best to use for iced tea, at least if you somewhat value your health. It is very tasty though, so maybe give it a try for that reason. Anyway, the teas that I'll be using is Minty Morocco over here. This is a very nice one coming from the Netherlands. I have a new one over here that I just recently brought, which is something with like weird flowers and stuff. I don't even exactly know what flower this is. If anybody knows what Fiori di Malva is, then please let me know. We have another personal favorite of mine that I like to use for this stuff, which is vanilla, cinnamon and ginger tea. This is a very good one. Next up we have this very interesting looking combination. I don't know if you can see, but that is indeed hemp leaves over there. You can imagine why I was drawn to this particular tea in the first place. But I've since found that this is also a very nice tea to make this kind of iced tea with. And then for this final one I had to use Google Translate to actually know what it is in English. In Italian it says finocchio. In English it's called fennel tea. And in Dutch we say droge meuk. Anyway, now that we have our assortments of tea, what we first need to do is fill up these bottles with water. Now, unlike normal tea, with the way that we're going to do this, you can just use cold water for this. So I'm just going to place these over here. I just have a funnel over here and I'm just going to fill up all of them with nice cold water. Alright, so now that we have this, we can choose out our tea and put them in there. Also, by the way, for any Italian watching, if they're at any point concerned that I'm using tap water for this, I'd much rather die of chlorine poisoning than taste that awful bottled water that you guys sell in supermarkets. So that's what I'm going with. So with the tea, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 2 bags per bottle. I'd like to match them, but you can experiment even if you want to maybe combine flavors and such. So as you can see, I have 1 flavor per bottle. There's just 1 duplicate because we have 6 bottles and only 5 flavors. But I'll show you some extra cool stuff that you can do at the end as well to spice it up even further. That means that we're going to have 2 different flavors between these 2 bottles, even though we're going to use the same tea for them. Anyway, let's just start by putting in 1 bag at a time. So we're going to go 1 bag. And you just want to like roll it up like this and you can just push it through. It should sink in automatically, but maybe you need to encourage it a little bit by just pushing it down a little bit. One thing that you'll notice in terms of the water though is that I'm not filling it all the way up. That's because we're going to be adding sugar and honey to this, and we need a little bit of space both for that to fit in the bottle as well as to be able to shake it afterwards so that it mixes with the tea. So now we just have to wait maybe like 10-15 minutes for everything to sink in and for the tea to actually, you know, infuse into the water. So I'm going to turn it into a little time lapse for you guys to enjoy. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes or so, something like that, and as you can see, all of them have gone nice and well. This one is a little bit hard to see that the color changed, but it's getting like a slight blue-greenish color to it, so it's a little bit of a strange tea. What we have to do now is just pull all of them out. Some of these might be a little bit hard to get out. I know that this last one is going to be a little bit hard because it's a little bit bigger. As you can see, it takes a little bit of effort to get them through. That is also the reason why you don't put two in at the same time, because then it's really hard to get them out, and it has often happened to me that the bag actually breaks when trying to pull it out that way. And then obviously all of the tea is going to be in the bottle and you have to filter it and it's a whole mess, so don't do it like that, just do one at a time. And then you just put in the next one. Honestly, if you want a little bit of a weaker taste, you can just stop with one of them. But I like to have two because it just enhances the flavor a little bit more. So now the new bags are in and we'll just have to wait a little bit longer for these new bags to also, you know, get their time to add the flavor to the drink. In the meantime, I'm just going to throw away this stuff because we don't need it anymore. For the actual tea bags themselves, I don't throw them away immediately. I like to let them dry for a little bit in the sink so that when they get into the trash they don't become all wet and have a chance to cause any mold or something like that. Now while I'm waiting, I'm also going to prepare the sugar thing here that I have over here. This is just a very neat and easy way to just put in the sugar into the bottle once all of the tea is finished. Because I do like to add a little bit of sugar to it because I do like the taste of sweetness, of course. So we have our sugar ready, and I also like to usually add a little bit of honey. In this case I go for the cheaper honey. This is like fake honey, it's not really real honey. Of course I also have some proper nicely tasting like organic honey, but that's a little bit of shame to put that in here because you do not really notice the taste difference in that. I also recently found this other kind of syrup that I would like to try out as well, so we're going to give that a try as well. I'll put that in like half of them to see the difference. Then finally, because we have these two simmer teas, I'll also take one of them and add some masala to it. This is the chai masala like tea mix that I get from my local African shop. This is actually very nice stuff also to just put in the normal tea if you're drinking hot tea as well. It does require a few extra steps because you actually need to filter it, because these spices just go in there and you need to mix it a little bit and then you filter it again and then you have the flavor in there. Okay, so I think the second batch of tea has finished, so we can pull them out. This one in the middle still really boggles my mind what is happening here, because it's just becoming a slight tint of blue, at least for me. I don't know how much the camera is going to catch that in that regard, because it might not show up properly, but you can see most of the other ones, even these, have a little bit of a color to them. These are like very nice and dark. Obviously it's going to depend on the type of tea that you're using, what color you're going to get, but I've never seen a tea do this kind of color. Anyway, we're going to add our sugar. I'd like to add sugar first, because if you add the honey first, it gets stuck to the bottle and you need to shake it more afterwards to actually mix it. So what we're going to do is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just do 5 scoops per thing. That looks like a lot of sugar, but trust me, on 2 liters of water, it's not really a lot of sugar. Alright, so we're done with the sugar. I think I still have, yeah, I still have a honey thing that is open. So I'm just going to take the honey here. I'll put the camera a little bit closer so that you can see. I'm just going to take the honey over here and I'm just going to give it a nice big pour here. Like so. And for the other ones, I'm going to use this stuff over here. To be honest, I've never used this stuff. I don't know what it is. It's called Siropo di Agave. For any Italian out there that knows what that means. There's some kind of plant on it. It says bio, so it should be good. It seems a little bit less vicious than the honey itself, so I'll have to be a little bit more careful with it. I'm just going to put it on there and also give it a nice... Does that not work? Doesn't seem to. Aha! That helps, taking this off.
A few minutes later.
I'll just give it a little pour. Try to be careful with it. Like so. And then you just screw on the little lids here. There you go. And now all that we have to do is just shake up the bottles to mix it in. So you can think of this as one of those like old school 70s workout videos where you can just shake along with me. A little bit of this, maybe the other hand. It's a nice little workout that we have going on here. Right, we'll just have to check if we've done that well. You can just check if there's still sugar left on the bottom after you leave it be for a little bit. You just have to shake it again. I suppose you can do this with hot water if you want to. That would make the sugar dissolve a little bit easier, but this way you don't have to wait for it to actually cool down before you can drink from it, which is really nice. As you can see, I like to make my stuff in bulk, which I would also recommend for you guys. But if you just make one at a time, then really it's really nice to have to do that with cold water, because otherwise you have to leave it for a couple of hours and then you always have to wait before you can actually drink it. Alright, this is the iced tea. We now have 5 of them finished. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these in the fridge. As I said, with this one we're going to do something special, and that is adding the chai masala. The way that I found that to be the easiest to do is using one of these. It's nice and easy because you can essentially pour it out of there again, whereas if you put it in a pan or something like that, it's a little bit harder. And in this one I would have to do it in 2 things, and I would need like an extra bottle or something like that. So ironically, even though we're not going to boil it, we are going to put it in a kettle. It actually just barely fits, but barely is enough. So we're just going to add a little bit of this stuff into it. I'll put the camera a little bit closer again. So we're just going to go like this. A little bit in there. Like so. You don't want to go too much because this is actually quite strong stuff in terms of the flavor that it adds to it. Of course, it being all herbs and spices, you would assume that that would be the case. Anyway, now we can just give it a quick mix like this. And it should already be mixed. And now we can just put it back in the bottle. The way that I like to do that is I get like a very thin piece of cloth, a very thin, maybe like towel or something like that. Make sure that you have a clean one. So you just take one of these very thin like cloths like this that we can use to like sift it through, and we'll put this over here. It's going to be a little bit unstable at first, so you have to be a little bit careful, but you can just put it in here and then just open this up. Make sure that you don't spill anything, of course. So what I do is I just pour in a little bit at the time, and then as you can see, all of the spices and the herbs kind of remain on the cloth over here. So we'll just have to clean that out a little bit, and then you just put it back and pour in the next little bit. You can choose to not clean it up after each like little pour that you do, but then towards the end it becomes more and more time for it to go through, because all of the herbs kind of block the path that the liquid would go through. You can see it goes slower and slower, and that is because all of the spices that we're now filtering out are starting to kind of clog up the part of the cloth that the liquid would go through. So every once in a while I'll just pull it out, clean it off a little bit, and then pour it in again. Anyway, once you have it washed out, always make sure that you put the same side towards the top again, because if there is still a little bit of spices left, you of course don't want that to be on the other side so that it can go through. And now you can see it goes much faster again. So I've now finished the tea. For this last bit, usually I pour in a little bit more. What will happen is that it will stay in the top here, and it will just slowly sip through over the next maybe like 10 minutes or so. It usually gets a little bit slower towards the end. But now we can just leave it be, and we have our chai-induced iced tea over here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that you found it useful, that you're able to drink this as well and make this at home. Let me know if you do, and if you enjoy it, let me know in the comments down below. The final thing that I wanted to say is that this was initially like a little bit of an April Fool's video, but during the recording process of this video I did enjoy it so much that I want to do more of this kind of stuff. At least more personality based kind of videos. Now this realization, together with the realization that my Conversations with Projektor series isn't really performing that well on my channel, it seems that you guys aren't really that interested in just conversations with me, in me as a person. So what I think is best for me and for my channel as well is to really separate the music production stuff, the tutorials, the information that I teach, from me as a person, and to make an actual personal channel that I can post personal videos to. So if you're interested in those personal videos, you can subscribe to that other channel, and if you're not interested in that, you just keep watching the Projektor channel, and it will be only music production tutorials from now on. Now what that means is that when I said in the intro that I was starting from scratch and I was rebranding completely, I wasn't technically completely lying, because I am starting from scratch, just with another channel. The Projektor channel is staying the way that it is. In fact, it gets more related to music production with this announcement instead of less. But that's going to be the video for today. I hope that you enjoy it and that you enjoy your tea as well. If you want to support the channel more, you can do so by watching more of my content. There will be 2 videos up on the screen right now. So just choose one, enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye. Godverdomme is die camera irritant.